How many of you here tonight care about youth? Raise your hands. Take a second and look around because we are in great company. So what if I told you that you came here tonight with everything you need to save someone's life? I'm here to start a conversation with you about our future because people's lives are at stake. But the problem I'm going to talk with you about is difficult and often hard to acknowledge. Here in the United States, about 16 million people, about 5% of us, will attempt suicide at some point in our life. That's roughly the combined populations of Chicago, LA, New York City, Seattle, and then some. People who are struggling to survive. So what can make the difference to someone who is considering ending his or her life? What kinds and amounts of love, support, and connection will encourage someone to live? Now I want you to think of someone, a person you know, or maybe someone you haven't yet met, who you think of as among the most vulnerable. In my experience of working with youth over the past 20 years, one of the people who comes to my mind is a 17-year-old Black transgender woman. She is just starting her process of coming out. She has a 2.5 GPA, she's a junior in high school, and no one has explicitly ever told her that she can go to college. And yet, this is a young woman who is so strong and so capable. But let's face it, she's at risk of dying because we do not accept her. Society and her family and friends do not yet understand what she already knows. That she is going to grow into an incredible Black woman who's going to make her mark on this world. She is going to do something great. And for tonight, her name is Jayla. Earlier, I mentioned that about 5% of us at some point will attempt suicide. But those rates for transgender youth are so much higher. Almost 50% of transgender youth in our country will attempt suicide. Half of these youth are not sure if they can make it in this world. I've been searching for a long time, and no one's been able to give me an answer quite yet. There's a question that I'd like to ask. What special gifts might a young transgender person have because of who they are? Whenever I ask that question, it's kind of painful to hear the long silence that follows. Because that silence does say a lot, after all, about what we really think. What if instead of thinking of transgender youth as broken, less than, or somehow needing to be fixed, we thought of these youth as capable, self-aware young people who can change the world? Some of you may see already that Jayla's got courage. Because when someone comes out as transgender at any age, they do not know and they cannot accurately predict what will be on the other side of each of those conversations. It could be violence, rejection, confusion, and rarely love and celebration. Jayla already knows that as a Black transgender woman in this society, she can expect to make about 51 cents to every dollar that a white man will make. But Jayla knows who she is. Jayla also has incredible empathy. She's got the kind of empathy that we look for when hiring healthcare workers, social workers, teachers, police officers, and others in our community. After 17 years of anticipating all of the gender cues that are ever present at home, school, the mall, the bus stop, and everywhere in between, Jayla can respond to nearly any social cue from nearly any person. She already knows what it feels like to be invisible, too visible, and uncomfortable in her own body. And Jayla has vision. She sees worth in herself even when no one else does. In an instant, she can map out a day better than any CEO or executive assistant we know. She's called names at school, she's harassed in the hallway after gym class, and to avoid having to use the restroom, she just doesn't drink anything between the time she wakes up and the time she gets home from school. Above all, Jayla can see an image of herself in the future, even when others say it's impossible or just plain wrong. Jayla knows that there is no other way to get through this life than to be who she is. So what kind of gifts does she have? What is she teaching us? Transgender youth in our society have this internal compass that is an undeniable blend of courage, empathy, and vision. These are the qualities we look for in our leaders. So it turns out that the real problem is not the high suicide rate of transgender youth. That's a horrible symptom of not allowing young people to be who they really are. So here in the United States, there are literally hundreds of thousands of transgender youth whose lives are on the line. In closing, I want to share a story with you. You see, Jayla and I have a lot in common. Despite our differences of age and our skin color and where we grew up, we both came to realize and understand that our gender is different than what a doctor told our parents when we were born. When I was born, the doctor told my parents that I was a girl. Despite my parents' very best efforts at having me wear dresses and take extensive 4-H sewing classes, I cannot remember a time when I did not know that I was male. One of the ways that I coped was by playing music, and one of my favorite scores is Carmina Burana. When I was a junior in high school, my marching band went to state competition on that music. My family had just moved from a small city farming community to a larger city, and in the transfer of those credits, I got caught. My guidance counselor discovered something very quickly that I already knew. I had not taken, as a junior, a single PE credit. I had no words to describe the gender realities that I was navigating, but I did know that I could never use a girls' locker room. So I argued as if my life counted on it. I don't know how, but after some time, I was able to convince my guidance counselor that 4 years of marching band added up to 2 years worth of PE classes. I'm also not that great at math. But anyway, what ended up happening is that in reflecting on this, I have an immense debt of gratitude for her. Because I got to learn how to play Carmina Burana. I didn't have to drop out of high school, because that was my backup option. And it's not an overstatement to say that she saved my life. While I didn't necessarily consider suicide, I did know that I would not be able to take high school PE classes in the current form, and that would destroy me, and I just might not be able to survive whatever was on the other side of that. Many of us here tonight are mentors, coaches, teachers, parents, family members. Earlier, we all said that we care about youth. So what can we do? 3 things. First, you can believe them. A transgender person knows their gender just like you do. Most of us know our gender by the time we're about 6 years old. And so when a young person tells you they're a particular gender, they probably are. Second, please don't stay silent. Tell your networks that you support transgender youth. You can say, I don't know what it's like to be a transgender person, but I do know that I want my community to be a place where young people can grow up as who they are, that they don't have to wait. And 3, you can welcome them. Given the courage, the empathy, and the vision that transgender youth already have, Imagine what they will accomplish when we welcome them. You see, there are many ways you can save someone's life. You could find a cure for cancer. You could pull someone out of a burning car on the side of the road. And you can also see and welcome a young person for who they really are. Thank you.